Hello and welcome, Critical Conversations. Let me check my mic here. We are on. I'm probably going to do that for the next 100 times that I record, because if you haven't been paying attention or following, a couple weeks ago, I poured my heart out to you guys, basically, that I had recorded a bunch of podcast episodes and they all had issues with the microphone. So I've been struggling with some technical difficulties. And honestly, today when I went to log in, I record on Riverside. I love Riverside. They're great. Highly recommend them if you're thinking about doing a podcast. But my Google login wasn't working. So, technology is just not always my thing. I'm pretty good at it, definitely better than my husband, who is like an alien when it comes to technology. But, it's not my top priority of things to understand. And so I kind of let the experts be the experts. But I literally couldn't log in today. And I was just like, oh my God, is it happening again? But turns out it's just me. So one of the new commitments I have for the remainder of the year, it's June 3rd, it's Monday. I've taken 2 full weeks off, and I am committed to really being more intentional with my online usage. Being a little bit smarter online, I guess, would be a great way to put it. But I wanted to get this podcast recorded and out to you. Today, it's Monday, June 3rd. You're going to be listening to this either tomorrow when it's released on all platforms or later on in life. But what I wanted to share with you today is kind of a follow-up to the podcast I released right before I went to Morocco and London. So if you go a couple podcasts back, I kind of shared my heart and soul, and I kind of shared that, business hasn't been booming. And it's not that there isn't great things happening, new connections, new conversations, new opportunities. It's just that the weight of the way in which I'm putting myself out there. I have this amazing client, and I think she said it best. She kind of was like, I'm whoring myself online in one of our private one-on-one calls. And, I went to Morocco. It was this super spontaneous, literally booked it 2 weeks before I was taking off, jetted away to this amazing yoga retreat. I fell madly in love with not only the Mediterranean food, but the Arabic culture and the Muslim religion. You can say whatever you want about that part of the world, but what I will tell you is that my experience of that religion and my experience of those people was nothing but peaceful and loving and kind and compassion. It's probably the safest I've ever felt traveling alone. I never had to check my SIX. I never had to really worry about anything. It was honestly just peaceful. We went to Marrakesh and we went to Essaouira. I'm probably saying Essaouira wrong, but my experience of these two very different places was nothing but peace. The city was peaceful. The people were peaceful. Is it to say that there aren't issues? No, I know there's issues. But what I want to talk about today is really opening ourselves up, to being more open, being more spontaneous, and recommitting to how we want to show up in the world. And so what I did was, on this trip, I deleted all social media. I tried to check in through my little sister, Abby. I was like, hey, how's it going? And she's like, I'm not telling you. You're supposed to be off. You're not supposed to be working. I have everything I need. Go enjoy yourself. So, it just goes to show you, I really am addicted to these platforms and these modalities for building business. But the further I got, the more space I got, the less interested I was. And it's not that I didn't miss people on the online space. There are many, many people, many clients, many colleagues, many friends, family. You know, we have people all over the world that I keep up with through social media. And I love that. I love those connections and those relationships that I've built, but it's not the end all be all. And so what I did is I started WhatsApping people. I started telegramming people. I started texting people. I started calling people. And I realized that, you know, there's this ability to do it so much differently. And, you know, it's so funny. The experience I had in Morocco, you know, I went on this yoga retreat and I knew my college roommate, and that was it. So immediately I'm immersed in this entirely different culture, which, by the way, like, I don't necessarily speak foreign languages well. I thrive off of Google Translate. And it was really challenging because guess what? Arabic is a completely different alphabet. So when you go to type something in and be like, what does this say? Or what does this mean? I don't even know the fucking alphabet to type it in. So, like, talk about a double barrier. But, you know, thankfully that we had a beautiful tour guide who taught us some amazing things about the people. And again, like, you don't have to agree with the way that the religion practices, but what you can succumb to or surrender to is that these people are living their life to the best of their ability with what they know and what their awareness is. And you have to respect that, and you have to just be there and in their culture and respect that this is how they grew up. This is what they know, and it works for them. And I don't think that there's one right or wrong way. I think this is where travel and being spontaneous really allows you to see the world through different perspectives. So you can think what you want about the Muslim culture and about this part of the world. And I'm going to tell you, you're probably wrong, because that was not my experience. What I see in the news, what I see on TV, and my experience of those people were two very different things. And so what I want you to remember, you know, is that you don't know what you don't know. And so a lot of these people, they don't know what they don't know, right? And you don't know what you don't know. And so this is where we get to step into our life with more curiosity. And this is what I've leaned into the last 2 weeks, is like, how, instead of cultivating my own perception, cultivating my own idea and trying to control, how can I actually lean back, get more curious, be more open, and see it for what it is, and see it differently from a different perspective. And so it was such an amazing experience to meet 16 new women from all over the world. We had people from Boston area. We had people from both sides of Canada, BC side, as well as the Toronto side. We had tons of people from California and Texas. And then, you know, me, Oregon, here I am. How's it going? We did yoga twice a day. We toured around. We got to know the locals. We had experiences that were planned for us. And then we had these days with free space where we could do what we wanted. It's interesting, when I left, I packed 6 books, or maybe it was 5. I packed 5 or 6 books. And then when I got to the airport in London, I bought 3 more books. And I read 1.5. I read 1.5. And, you know, it was interesting because I thought, okay, that I'm going to do an experiment, and I'm just going to see how much more productive I can be without having social media on my phone, without having my laptop to like sink my teeth into, you know, the federal website looking for jobs and contract opportunities. Like, how can I actually be productive? So my intention was to read a lot more, but what happened is I had a lot more conversations with real people. And so this is where I want to take us today is I think what happened is I found how to be present. And I often didn't even know where my phone was. I would leave it behind in the room. I would just really try to have conversations. and have these really amazing experiences. And it was so interesting because what happened is I felt lighter. And so if we go back to the comment I made about that client, I had this private one-on-one client, and the conversation we had, I don't know, maybe a month ago or whatever, about how she kind of felt like she was whoring herself out for social media. It's like that burden was released, the burden that we put on ourselves, right? It's false. It's a false burden. And we're saying, oh, I have to show up. I have to post X amount of times. I have to show up in stories. I have to chase this algorithm, all these things. But it's like, I think that there's just a better way of doing all of this. And I think it's in finding the path that works for you. It might work for you to be on social media, but it might not. And I want to have this conversation because I think for me, it's Monday. I've been back. I got back Friday night late. And I haven't downloaded the app yet. And I honestly am sitting here being like, do I want to? Do I want to? Does it make sense? Yes, it's a platform of influence. Yes, it's a platform where many people have found me and I've created amazing relationships, and, clients have found me. And I hope that it's a place where I've inspired people. But is that where I want to put my energy? Is that allowing me to be fully present? And what I got to thinking about is how many times, even if you can have the hardest boundary known to man around social media. Like I had pretty strict boundaries. I used to only have it on my iPad. And then I would have the hour time limit, and then I would delete it for the weekends. I have all the boundaries, and I've played with all of them. But what I'm going to tell you is that there's still an addiction. You still fall into the trap because they are smarter than us. This comes into the technology comment. They're smarter at it. They know the psychology behind how to keep us hooked in, to keep us staying on longer. I fucking love reels. I love watching people fall. I'm a terrible human. I might go to hell, but honestly, it makes me laugh. Maybe it's because I fall and do stupid shit all the time. I don't know, but I love that shit. I love horse stuff. I love funny kids. I love a lot of the motivational people that are on there speaking their truth, being really motivating and empowering. Like it is a beautiful space, but it's addictive, period. And how much benefit do you get out of it? I don't know. Again, I don't actually know the impact I have on social media unless people DM me and tell me, unless clients come in and tell me. It's just kind of out there. And so in a way, it's like, how out there in the random atmosphere do I want to be? Or is it more valuable for me to be out there in a very intentional way? The email I wrote out that came out this last week was all about being intentional with your time. Summer can really go by fast. Like I often get overwhelmed early in the summer thinking, oh, fuck, the whole summer is already gone because we've got this happening, and then we're going here, and then we have this job here, and then I'm traveling here, and blah, blah, blah. And then you like look at it and you're like, fuck, where's the free time to just have a random barbecue? Like, where's the free time to have that spontaneous camping trip? And so this is kind of like that same concept. It's like a reoccurring theme that's happening right now, where it's like, what would happen if you were able to be really intentional with your time and your energy and your influence and the where you want to show up to do life and to do business? Is it on social media? Yes or no? And I think the answer for me right now is no, it's not. I'm not raking in clients. I'm not getting thousands of DMs telling me how motivating my content is. People aren't sharing the shit out of it. Am I doing okay as far as Joe Schmo average, Jane Doe? Yeah, it's great. It's fine. But is that where I get reinvigorated to do more of life, to be more present in life? Probably not. I don't find social media super motivating. What I find motivating is human connection and human conversations. And honestly, podcasts. When I was in Morocco, we had a 3-hour drive from Marrakesh to Essaouira, which is on the coastline. It's like a little bit south west. And I listen to podcasts. I'm not a car napper. It's just not my thing. But a lot of people were napping, and I just put in a podcast, and I was like, man, like this is fun. This is invigorating. This is inspiring. And so I think the thing to remember here is we bought into something. We bought into the concept that social media is where we should be spending our time and our energy because, one, it's this free platform of influence. 2, you can make great money and great sales. 3, we can have connections with people. But again, there's this whole other thing going around on social media where social media isn't real. So if it isn't real, if we're all saying we acknowledge that social media isn't real, yet we're spending all of our time there. We're spending our marketing money there. We're spending our energy. Our effort is going into that platform. And whether or not you're paying for ads, you are feeding the beast of bullshit. And so I don't know if that's the space for me. Does it mean that it doesn't make sense for a million other business owners? Absolutely not. Go forth. But what I do think is if social media isn't real, then what the fuck is? And why aren't we pursuing that? Why aren't we chasing our own algorithm? And I think this is like what has happened in the last 2 weeks for me is I finally fucking feel like I have a direction. I have a goal. I have a place. I have a way in which I'm going to do it. I have 3 events this June, right? It's June 3rd. Next week, I have the Hub in Real Life, my second in-person event here in Portland on the 13th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the same bar, Freeman Barrel House, which is a women's owned bar. And this event, I've got in-person vendors. So we have these amazing makeup artists coming to talk about quality makeup, how to apply it, blah, 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 all the things. Really excited. I have a woman who does beautiful, beautiful desserts and cakes. Hey Cake Girl is her name on Instagram. She's also going to farmers markets and stuff like that, which I'm super excited about for her. And we have a palm reader or tarot reader. I'm waiting to confirm which one it is going to be, but I'm working with Raven's Wing, which is a co-op magical place here in Southeast Portland. And they're going to send me somebody to do that. And then I think she hasn't confirmed yet, but we have a woman who makes dog treats, dog biscuits. And I'm super excited for her to be there as well. I'm doing an online full moon on the 21st. That's our next full moon. It's the strawberry full moon. And I'm doing it at 9 a.m. I'm doing it differently. Why do we have to do it at nighttime? Why don't we come together at 9 a.m., do yoga, Pacific Standard Time, by the way. We're going to do a little yoga. We're going to do a little meditation. We're going to do a little journaling. It's going to be a totally different type of full moon ritual. And let's say you can't be there at 9 a.m. Pacific on the 21st. You can get the replay and do it later that night. And then the third event I'm doing this month is on the 27th, and it is at Raven's Wing from 6 to 8 p.m. And I'm super stoked about this because this is the edge I'm leaning into. I am like literally about to dive bomb off and own the fact that I like business. I'm really good at it. And we're going to talk about business. We're going to get you to fall back in love with your business. We're going to talk about real life strategy and techniques. And then we're going to have, an opportunity to Q&A. Let's workshop it. Let me help you figure it out because I'm sick and tired of seeing businesses fail. And I'm sick and tired of people looking at their dream and wanting to make something of it, but not being successful in business. And this is what I'm leaning into. This is why I'm in the coaching space. I love business. And it's so funny because in Morocco, you can ask any of the women who were on this retreat what Karissa loves, and they would all tell you it's business. So here's a funny story for you. So in Essaouira, we went on this walking tour, and there were all these different vendors and people selling things. And we go into this Moroccan rug store. Guys, I literally sat there and was like, how do I start a rug company and export Moroccan handmade rugs from the Bibber? I think I'm saying that wrong, but it's the old like, I don't know, I don't want to be offensive here, but they're kind of like the mountain men. Like, they live off grid in Morocco. They're kind of at the bottom of the hill, and I think it's called Bibber. Anyways, they're hand woven wool rugs, fucking authentic as hell. We learned about the whole process. We looked at hundreds of them, and I literally was like, oh my God, how do I get a container filled with all of these rugs and sell them in the States? Because the price is right. I mean, I just literally was going off on business, and that had happened multiple times throughout the trip. I was constantly thinking of, how do we make business happen? And I was talking to people about it all the time. And it was so interesting because I was like going nuts, and I was like, all right, Rashib, I'm going to come back on Friday and you and I are going to talk. And he's like, it's going to be great. We're going to sit, we're going to have tea, we're going to like jam out. So I went back with my college roommate, Rochelle, and it was so funny because we were talking on the way there, and I was like, man, like, how do I do this business? And da 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 da. And I'm like, what are you thinking? I was just like, what are you thinking in those situations? You know, we went to like a jewelry store, same kind of a thing was processing, where they make like custom handmade jewelry. Like, the people were there, like pounding out silver and stuff. Anyways, so I'm like asking my roommate, I'm like, what goes through your mind in these different situations? You know, we went to an argan oil shop. We went to this rug place. We went to this jewelry place. We went to a cooking class. Like, we were going all these places, and I'm just like, business, business, business. Like, how do I make a profitable business that benefits me, benefits the people making this stuff, and can be like making happy customers all over the world? And she's like, well, I was thinking about their dialect and, you know, where they came from, and all of the different linguistic and, you know, history of their linguistics. She is a reading specialist down in Big Sur. So, like, obviously, she's doing what she loves to do because her curiosity went towards her career and what she loves to do. And my curiosity went towards what I love to do, which is business. But it's not necessarily about me either. I was like, man, Rashib, like, how can we do this? And so, I mean, I'm not giving up on this rug idea, you guys. So basically, DHL is about to deliver $3,000 worth of rugs to me. And if that goes through, like, call me. I can get you a Moroccan rug. Anyways, back to what we were talking about, which is, where do you want to spend your time? How do you want to live? And it's so interesting because, you know, I'm in this space with my coaching business where I'm like, where do I want to put my energy? Because I've got this trucking company. It's over here. It's, you know, I'm working on it a few hours a week. You know, we're putting job bids out. You know, we're not actively doing a job right now. It's bid season. We're a little bit late to the game. We had some issues with licensing and whatnot. And so, you know, I'm kind of got this business over here that's like, you put out bids and you wait, and it's like this big waiting game until you get a big job. So last year we got our first like really big job, which was super, super awesome. And so we're just finishing that up, and it's like, okay, what's next? So my brain is always like, okay, what's next? You know, okay, how do we get there? And so with business, it's like, there's a lot of streamlined paths. You know, Nigel has built a business from ground zero with no use of social media, with no email marketing, with no nothing. It was like, you fucking called people. Like, do you guys remember that? Do you remember when you like were at dinner at your house and the phone rang? Like, not your cell phone, but like a landline phone. And guess who was on the other end? A lot of times it was somebody trying to sell you something. And it wasn't until later in life, when the internet became really popular, when social media came on, when emails started to be like a bigger way of marketing, that people were irritated by this, right? Like, I remember door-to-door salesmen. I mean, come on, think back with me, you guys, in the 70s, in the 80s. Like, how did people do business? Well, they went out and they shook people's hands. They knocked on doors. Now, if somebody knocks on your door, you freak out and you're like, what the fuck are you doing knocking on my door? How rude of you. But the thing is, that's another way of doing business. But at some point, we decided as a society that that wasn't acceptable. So I don't know how you're feeling, but I'm feeling like fuck social media, fuck making Meta rich, fuck helping their algorithm. What's my algorithm? And what I'm realizing after this Morocco trip is my algorithm is shaking people's hands. My algorithm is genuine connections with people and not selling them a bunch of fluff. I want to sell them real transformation. I want to help them do business better. I want to help them feel better in their bodies, in their minds. I want a holistic approach where it's your life, your relationships, your business, and your spirituality, whatever you believe in. Tapping into it, trusting yourself, getting really curious about who am I and how do I want to be in this world? What's the impact I want to have? Who do I want to connect with? You know, I've talked about this before on the podcast, where you are very closely related to the people you spend the most time with. So who are you spending time with? And is that who you want to be? There's other ways of doing business other than being on social media. And what I've learned in the last 2 weeks is that, yes, it might be a beautiful platform to show up on, but it might not also be the only platform to show up on. There are other platforms. And I think that we got a little bit crazy about our quote unquote boundaries and our quote unquote, you know, oh, I don't work past 5 o'clock. And instead of opening ourselves up to a different way of doing business and going back to the basics of how to build a business, we just give up on business. You know, this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing people be like, oh, I need to show up on social media. I need more consistency, but I don't want to. And then they're like, I guess I can't follow my dream and open this business and do this thing. But what I want to say is there is another way of doing it. You just have to get more curious about what that looks like for you. And so for me, it's like, I'm going to try and shake hands in real person. And if you want to work with me, I see no reason why you can't just fucking call me. Like, why do I have to have a boundary? Like, so many people are like, oh, why would you put your phone number out there for people? Why the fuck wouldn't I? Telemarketers call me all the time. Why wouldn't I want a client to call me? Like, that's literally insane to think about. I need a boundary around my phone number. Like, why? Who cares? Like, the man's listening. Listen away. So if you want to call me and maybe I can help you and you want to work together, maybe you want accountability in your business. Maybe you want to heal some relationship stuff. Maybe you want to, you know, work on a business strategy. Maybe you need the accountability. Maybe you need, you know, somebody to really help you hone in on like where you're going sideways. Maybe you just need permission to be yourself and you need that empowerment and that validation that you're doing it and you're doing a great job. Maybe you do need feedback. Maybe you need to soften your edges. Why wouldn't I want you to just call me? Just call me. Just text me. Like, I don't know why we need all these barriers. These barriers are actually what's hindering us. These barriers are actually keeping us from doing business the way that we want to do business or living the life that we want to have. Like, I don't know why I would shame anyone who knocked on my door and was just trying to build a business that they really believed in. I can listen to you for 2 minutes. I got 2 minutes. Fuck, Instagram sucks me in for 30 minutes easily. So why can't I open my door and say, hey, yeah, tell me about your business? I might not be your customer, but I might know somebody. So I think what Morocco did for me was allowed me to disconnect so that I could reconnect with myself. And I think that this is actually the mission of life, is to come out of the womb, have our childhood experience that shapes so much of who we are, and then go out into the world and discover who it is that we actually want to be. But we can't do that if we're constantly inundated with other people's voices and the noise of others. And so a good coach is going to help you find your own voice. I can't tell you how many DMs of coaches I've gotten, or how many people who are like, oh, you should work with me, hire me and I will help you do this, and hire me and I will help you do that. And the first thing that every single one of them says is, I need to raise my price, and I need to have more boundaries, and I need this, that, and the other thing. And what I want to say to all of that BS is, why can't I do it my way? Why does it have to be your way? Don't you want to get curious about the way that I want to run my business and the price point that feels really exciting and nourishing for me, and also feels really exciting and nourishing for my clients? Like, I think you can do whatever you want. And I think a good coach is going to just help you see what that is for yourself. They literally just hold up the mirror and they say, what makes sense to you? And I think some of my best coaching calls with clients are when I take my ideas away from the equation and I say, what do you think about? And I repeat back to them. And I'm like, you already know the answer. Like, let's just sit with this for a second. What do you think about your prices? What do you think about your marketing plan? What do you think about your consistency? What's getting in the way of you being accountable? And then we dig into some shit. Those calls are my favorite calls, because all we've done is unlock you. Because my way isn't your way. Your way is your way. And again, I've said this a million times. I don't know why the fuck we're paying coaches the same price of a mortgage. I don't know why we're doing that. I did it, and I think it was really dumb. I look back and I'm like, fuck, that was $50,000. Do you know what that is? That's a down payment on a rental property that can gross over $70,000 a year. Why couldn't I have gotten the same coaching at a more reasonable price? $50,000, that's more than most Americans make in an entire year before taxes. You don't have to have this astronomical price tag on your services or your products. You just have to have one that pencils and makes sense for you. And so this is the noise that I had to get away from. And this is what the trap is that I fell into on social media. There's too many people out there telling me how to do my coaching business. I don't want to do it that way. I want people to get real transformations. I want you to be like, Karissa, my business is fucking failing. I'm having a really hard time in my marriage. My kids don't want to talk to me. I just got a divorce. Whatever it is. And I want you to say, this is a stretch for me. But what could we do? How could we work together for X amount a month? What could I do to get you in my corner and help me feel better? Because that is like what I really believe about coaching. I don't think that you need to be paying these astronomical prices. I did it, and I don't think there's any benefit to it. I think that there are really good people at a different price point that makes sense for your pocketbook. And I really hope that if anything I've shared strikes a chord with you, that you'll just call me. because I love coaching. I love the transformation that happened for me. I went from being suicidal and hating my husband and not even really connecting with my daughter, feeling like I had no purpose, no place in this world, to realizing that I just needed to get to know myself and that I really needed to find my inner voice and my inner truth. And there was a lot of healing on this path. There was a lot of healing. And so the moment I decided to get curious about how it could get better, it did get better. And it continues to get better, because instead of looking at the grass on the other side of the street, I looked at my own grass and I figured, how am I fertilizing? How am I watering? Where's the sunlight? Here. And then I started planting the things that I wanted to see grow in my life. And it takes time, and it's not always the funnest thing. But if you can commit to it, damn, life is so sweet, you guys. I mean, I can't even tell you. I have the best relationship with Nigel, and it's better. Like, I think I like set the bar, and I was like, okay, if the bar could be just right here, then I would be happy. And like, we blew the fucking roof on that bar. I have a great relationship with Ruby. I have really unique relationship with my, blood family. I have some pretty harsh boundaries there because I realized how much I was losing of myself to those relationships and situations. And I've started to really connect with people in a way that nourishes my soul, in a way that I feel like it's reciprocal, because it makes sense for both people. It's not conditional. My business is doing really good. We bought more properties. We're looking at buying more properties. I love properties. If you have any interest in income properties, that is definitely something I can geek out and talk about nonstop with, whether you want long-term or short-term renters. I fucking love it. And I think that the best piece that I got from coaching was knowing who I am and feeling so grounded and so clear and calm. There's like this insane calmness in my life. It's really blissful. And so my wish for people listening to this right now is that whatever your path is, just find it. Give yourself permission to do it your way. I don't think social media is all that great for us. I do think that there are benefits. There's benefits to everything, though. I do think that we should look at how history repeats itself, and there's sabotage in that, but how there's also pieces of history that we left behind because these quote unquote new technologies were going to be better, but maybe they're not better. So maybe there is a unique way for you to show up so that you feel more present in your life, so that you feel more at peace with your life, and so that you actually start receiving the abundance that you're worthy of, and that you know yourself and you don't feel like you're whoring yourself out just to get one sale online, or that you're not buying into the system that's just getting meta richer, which again, you guys, like, no good and bad in all of this. I understand a lot of people work for Meta, and that's so cool that Meta is this giant corporation that employs all these different people who get to take care of their families. There's no bad in anything that I'm saying. I'm just saying I'm seeing a path that looks differently, and I'm finally giving myself permission to walk on it. And it can change. That's the other thing about coaching that I think is really powerful, is it gives us permission to change and be ourselves and be different and be bold, and be more unapologetic about how we want to live. Coaching gave me curiosity, and the more curious I got about how sweet life could get, the sweeter life got. So again, I don't know if I'm going back on social media. I can tell you right now, I'm not going back today. And we'll just see. Right now I have an amazing human who helps me with that platform because I do see the value in it. I do want to be a positive voice in that space. But do I need to pour myself out for it? I don't know. I actually really want to focus on these in-person events, retreats. We have some really exciting plans coming up for retreats. If you want to stay connected with me, send me a DM. Just kidding. Don't, because I'm not on any of the platforms. Okay, good. You're listening. So text me, call me, send me an email. If you're not on my email list, I would highly suggest getting on there. I've got emails coming out weekly, and most of them are like amazing tips and tricks. The one that came out this last Sunday was all about how to be intentional with your summer and really like giving you the permission to sit down right now with your calendar out in front of you and really look at it and start to like really create the boundaries you want around it. I know that we like stopped saying yes to some stuff because we're like, we value being spontaneous and adventurous. And if we're filling the calendar with commitments just because, it doesn't feel good. So be intentional about it. So that email went out on Sunday. I don't know what's coming out this following Sunday because I haven't written it yet, but I will later this week. Got a kind of a crazy week happening. I got a lot of podcast interviews coming up with some really incredible people. So please make sure that you are staying connected. Like, subscribe, follow, and every time that you share, you're supporting me and you're supporting the people who I interview and small business, baby. So again, you want to text me? Are you ready? Are you still here? 503-927-1496. Just remember, if you're nasty, I can block you. It's really easy. And like, I can block you a million times and it's no sweat off my back. But if you want to chat, if you're curious about how we could work together, you can pop me a text, give me a phone call. You can also email me, hello@karissadean.com. I am on all the platforms. It's my energy behind every post. Every post is curated with love and intention. And I hope that you do find them beneficial. If there's something you want to hear on the podcast, please be sure to send those notes in. Again, you should be able to do any sort of DM. Somebody is going to get it. And yeah, that's it for today. Thanks so much for being here and being part of this conversation.